Okay, great. So it's a stereo bounce I've just imported in of a track. Plays back at its tempo, but the tempo is not the same as Logic's tempo. Logic is still at 120 BPM. If we turn the click on, turn down the volume so we can hear the click. We can hear it's going out of time. It's not at the same BPM. So what we're going to do is use the new adaptive tempo function in Logic to map out the tempo of this track. This track I've selected because it's quite easy to do, because it's very much 4 on the floor, and that makes it very easy for the computer to do. Later on, I'm going to try something a bit more, I'm going to try a track that isn't electronic. It'll be interesting to see if it can follow a tempo that is not regular. We'll try that in a minute. We'll push it. But this one is a regular tempo recorded to a click. It's quite an easy one for Logic to guess the tempo. So if I double click and go to the File Tempo tab, so this is the region editor. We know there's the track editing, the file editing, and I'm going to do File Tempo. So the file belonging to the selected region does not contain tempo, downbeat or time signature information. Press Analyze to start Smart Tempo detection and open the editor. So let's click the Analyze button. There it is. So we see the audio file in there, and we also see these bright orange lines, which are the downbeats, and some darker orange lines, which is where it's still measured beats, but they're not downbeats. The definition of a downbeat is that it's the first beat of a bar. It's the kind of heaviest beat often in a bar of music. So the downbeat is coloured orange. That's important because it uses that to work out what is the time signature. For every downbeat, we see the time signature listed. Just above there, you can see 4/4. Great. So, just make that a bit bigger. It's told us that the file tempo is 128, and it's worked out where all these downbeats are. If we zoom to the beginning, we can see there's a bit of a gap before the first beat. You often get that with tracks that are straight off a CD. There's always a gap before the first beat because you don't want anything accidentally being chopped off the beginning of your song. So it's ignoring the gap and it's putting the first beat there. I can see it's slightly off. We'll check this in a minute. So let's get this to match. It hasn't matched it yet because if we play back, you can still hear the tempo is sliding out of phase with Logic's tempo. Because what we need to do is go into the little Actions menu and select one of the three. They're very similar, so it's worth reading through all three to check which one you want to do. First one, adapt the project tempo, so adapt Logic's tempo to the region's tempo and align the region so that the downbeat lines up with Logic's time ruler up along the top. Second one, adapt Logic's tempo, so adapt the project tempo and all regions to the region tempo and downbeat. Where it's talking about the region tempo, that's this block that I've got here selected, which is a whole song in this instance. It doesn't necessarily have to be a whole song, it could be just a 4-bar drum beat. That is a region. So one single block on Logic's arrange page is a region. So that second one is saying will adjust Logic's tempo and all of the other regions in your project to this region's tempo. That's probably the one that you would want to do if you already had other stuff in your Logic project and you wanted it all to match your new region that you've brought in. Finally, adapt the region's tempo to Logic's tempo and align the downbeat. I haven't got any other regions, so I'm ignoring the middle one. So I can either get Logic to match the region and align it up, or I can get the region to match Logic's tempo and align it. Let's get Logic's tempo to change. At the moment, Logic's tempo is at 120, and if we zip to the beginning, we can see it's not aligned to the grid. These downbeats, you can see it's not lined up properly. So let's go in Actions, adapt the project tempo to region tempo and align to downbeat. Cool. So Logic tempo changes to 128 BPM to match, and it's added a bit of a gap at the beginning to allow for this space so that the first beat of the audio falls on beat 1. Let's have a listen to that. It's a little bit behind, isn't it? I can hear it's kind of, the audio is a little bit behind the beat. We can adjust that if we want. If we go back into the editor down here, I mean, I guessed it was behind because I can actually visually see it, that each one of these markers, look, is a little bit in front of that visible beat there in the waveform. Each one of these beat markers has these blobs when you roll over it, and each blob does a different thing. You can see what it says up in the top bit here. If I roll over the bottom one, it says move all. So if I drag that one, it's going to move all of them. Have a look at the one just over here on the right hand side, move as well. See? So we're dragging all of them. This is what we want in this instance, because they were all consistently in front of the beat. So I can drag them all back a little bit. There are other options. Scale all will scale it to, it's kind of a bit like the time stretching. Perhaps we'll go into that in more detail later. Let's just focus on move all or just move marker. So moving marker just moves that one. Notice when I drag that one, the one on the right hand side stays where it is. So that's useful if, look, here's one. It's not quite right, is it? So if I drag that back, I'm just moving that single one. Yeah, that one's a bit out of the way as well. That one's okay. That one's okay. That one's all right. Maybe move this one. Touch. Yeah. You can do it visually. It's quite quick. Of course, if it's a whole song, it might take a few minutes. So that's good enough for us at the moment. They will look pretty good. So the key thing there, we were looking at either move an individual marker or move all of them. Great, once we've done that, we just need to go into the actions and do the same function again. Adapt project tempo to region and align to downbeat. Just aligns it slightly, and if we zoom in here, now we should see, yeah, it's lining up much closer to Logic's grid ruler. And we should hear that it will be closer to the click as well. Let's try it. Yeah, bang on. Interestingly, look, that's changed to 127. What's going on here? Because this isn't time stretched. This audio region here is the same tempo as it always was. Logic is just following its tempo. If we have a look in this little bit, we can see in the tempo track here, it's created a little tempo grid. So it's just slightly adjusting Logic's tempo every now and again so that Logic stays in time with the audio. If you were to do that manually, that would be near impossible. So Logic does all the maths for you to keep it all in time. It's probably where I did those little adjustments where it kind of fell out of time. So it's back in. This track was recorded in a computer but was mastered through analog tape. The reason why it wasn't lining up to the grid significantly all the way through, consistently, is probably the tape stretching naturally. You get that with analog tape. The tape speed, the machine generally is indistinguishable to our ears if it's a good tape machine, but you do get slight variations. So that's why. But Logic adjusts its tempo and keeps up with the audio. So that's the benefits of this this system. Let's stop it there because I think that's a good place to create a bite-sized chunk.